the most humbled I've ever felt in my life. I'm literally holding resumes, a stack of them, so that I can go in person to places and say, are you guys hiring? It's honestly a little bit embarrassing because I'm literally applying for like minimum wage jobs, and some of them are being like, we're not hiring, and it's like, what?
There's a sentence you've probably heard in the last few years, maybe from a frustrated parent, an angry HR manager, or a boomer on Facebook. It's the declaration that Gen Z just doesn't want to work anymore. It's become sort of a cultural punchline, almost like a generational accusation. But beneath the jokes, beneath the TikTok memes, the viral clips of teenagers announcing they don't dream of labor, lies something deeper, something worth understanding. Because Gen Z didn't just wake up one morning and decide, you know what, work is optional, I'm done. Their frustration didn't just come out of the blue. It came from a world where the old rules of work don't match the new reality. By the end of this video, you might realize Gen Z isn't running away from work. They're running away from a system that stopped working years ago.
Can somebody explain to me in crayon-eating terms why I make over 3 times the federal minimum wage and I cannot afford to live? And I do not want to hear the pull yourself up from your bootstraps, work 90 hours a week. That's not the goal, guys. That should not be our standard.
To understand the present, we need to step back in time. If you lived during the Industrial Revolution, work was brutally straightforward. It was survival. People worked long hours in dangerous conditions because not working simply wasn't an option. You didn't try to find passion, fulfillment, or creativity in your job. Your job was a necessity, not a dream. Then you move on into the mid-20th century, the 1950s to the 1980s, a period many older generations still romanticize. Back then, the path to a stable life was incredibly linear. Go to a school, get a job, buy a home, retire with a pension. That system genuinely rewarded consistency. Even a factory worker or a cashier could afford a home, raise a family, and save for retirement on a single income. They didn't need to sell an online course or start an OnlyFans. Stability was the default. Now fast forward to the present. The world Gen Z inherited is mostly unrecognizable by comparison. Work is no longer predictable. Jobs aren't guaranteed. Companies don't promise loyalty. Homeownership feels like a fantasy. And the idea of working for one employer for 40 years is basically comedy material. The world changed, work changed, but oddly, the expectations did not change. Let's talk numbers for a moment. Because no matter how people spin this argument, it always comes back to basic economics. The truth is simple. Gen Z isn't rejecting work. They're rejecting bad offers, bad deals. Previous generations lived during a time where wages actually grew alongside productivity and inflation. If the cost of living increased, salaries eventually followed. That allowed people to plan, save, and dream. But this generation stepped into a world where prices exploded and wages stayed almost frozen in place. Rent rose faster than incomes, education became absurdly expensive, healthcare became financially crippling, groceries got pricier, transportation costs increased. Meanwhile, entry-level job salaries barely changed. Gen Z isn't lazy, they're observant. They see that the numbers don't add up. You can work full-time in many cities and still be unable to afford basic housing. You can get a degree and still end up at a job that pays less than your tuition fees. You can do everything right and still fall behind. And then there's automation, AI. Most of the jobs older generations depended on have either disappeared or are no longer secure. AI writes, calculates, analyzes, solves, and generates. Customer service is now done by chatbots. Factory jobs are done by machines. Office roles are increasingly automated. Gen Z didn't decide to abandon work. The economy decided to abandon them first. Something else happened along the way. People got tired, emotionally, mentally, physically. Millennials experienced burnout at historic levels, pushing themselves through unpaid internships, side hustles, late-night work emails, and toxic corporate environments that called themselves family. Gen Z watched all of that and said no to the yearly office pizza parties, and they began asking questions no one dared to ask before. Why are we expected to be available 24/7? Why is burnout treated like normal life? Why do companies demand loyalty but offer none? Why should I sacrifice myself for a job that replaces me the moment I'm tired? Gen Z didn't escape work. They escaped self-destruction disguised as productivity. Now we need to acknowledge something important. Gen Z grew up in a world where teenagers became rich in their bedrooms. They watched people make millions on YouTube, TikTok, and Twitch. They saw creators earning more from one sponsored post than some workers earn in a month. They saw gamers become millionaires. They saw entrepreneurs build brands on their iPhones. They saw entire careers built off storytelling or niche hobbies. And whether you call it unrealistic, inspiring, or delusional, it undeniably changed the psychology of young people. When you grow up seeing people your age succeed outside traditional work, you naturally start questioning the point of following outdated paths. Why grind through corporate ladders when you can be a freelancer? Why limit yourself to one employer when you can just build your own audience? Of course, not everyone becomes famous. Most don't. I mean, look at me. I got 11 subscribers. Please subscribe. But the possibility of alternative paths make traditional work seem like only one option, not the default option it once was. That shift is huge. One of the funniest but also most powerful forces shaping Gen Z's attitude towards work is meme culture. The internet mocks everything about corporate life. The "I don't dream of labor" trend, the jokes about quiet quitting, the videos making fun of managers who say, "We are like a family," the endless memes about burnout, low pay, pointless meetings, fake enthusiasm, and 9-to-5 misery. Memes don't just entertain, they normalize shared experiences. They make workers realize, oh, it's not just me. Everyone feels like this. In a strange way, memes became the new union meetings. They united millions of people across the world with humor, but behind the humor is a shared truth. Most people are tired, most jobs are exhausting, most workplaces are outdated, and nobody wants to pretend otherwise anymore. By now, the real answer should be clear. Gen Z doesn't hate work. They hate meaningless work, exploitative work, underpaid work, or work that demands loyalty without offering stability. They hate environments that drain their energy without feeding their growth. They hate systems that promise freedom but deliver stress. But when Gen Z actually believes in something, they put in more effort, creativity, and dedication than anyone else. They start businesses, they learn online, they master digital tools faster than any generation before. They build audiences, brands, and skills on their own. They innovate. Gen Z isn't lazy. They're efficient, they're strategic, and most importantly, they're self-aware. At the end of the day, the question we should be asking isn't, why doesn't Gen Z want to work? The real question is, why are we forcing young people to follow a system designed for a world that doesn't exist anymore? Gen Z is not the problem. They're the mirror reflecting the problems. They are adapting to economic realities older generations never had to face. They're rewriting the rules based on health, freedom, creativity, and fairness. And whether the world is ready or not, the future of work will be shaped by their values. A future where work is flexible, where mental health matters, where creativity is currency, where stability is earned, not demanded, and where hustle is replaced by purpose. Call it rebellion if you want, but it just might be progress. Thank you for watching.